This video is brought to you in part by Squarespace. More on them in just a bit. PlayStation's always had some interesting advertisements, to say the very least. Sony's trend of weird and sometimes outright confusing marketing has dated all the way back to the original PlayStation's cryptic "You Are Not Ready" teasers, and things just haven't slowed down since. And so today we're gonna highlight some of the absolute weirdest PlayStation commercials, advertisements, and marketing campaigns, and to do so, we're gonna split things up into 5 easy categories: weird, sexual, vaguely racist and/or controversial, what the f***, and Kevin Butler. Although, now that I think about it, the Venn diagram between weird and what the f*** is basically a circle. Let's start with what I'd consider some of the most awesome weird PlayStation commercials, which naturally means I get to talk about Ratchet & Clank. For the PS2 Ratchet games, the marketing team at Sony brought out an amazing campaign showing you just how insane the Lombax's weapons can get. These commercials would usually put some bored college-age kids together to test out real-life versions of these weapons in a sort of Jackass style, with hilarious and often destructive outcomes showing that regular people can't handle the power.
Oh man.
There simply couldn't have been a better way to advertise Ratchet, and I would give these commercials a good amount of credit for the series' early success. To jump back a little bit from there, Europe got an excellent PS1 commercial showing that same theme, that regular people can't handle the power of PlayStation. This was SAPS, an ad styled as a PSA from the Society Against PlayStation, warning viewers of what could happen if you dare use a PlayStation.
It may look like a harmless bagel toaster, but inside is a deadly donut.
This commercial is as baity as they get, coming from a nerdy-looking establishment type telling you that PlayStation is too extreme for human consumption. It's just classic 90s. And the key here is that it didn't just market at kids like so many previous game commercials had. It marketed at anybody and everybody, which brings us to the PS1's Double Life ad. This was another commercial aimed at European audiences, but more than that, this was one of the first gaming commercials to truly aim its sights on the adult market, just as the PlayStation was one of the first consoles to try and draw back in lapsed gamers that perhaps thought that gaming was just a kid's hobby. There's really not much weird about this one, it's all just about the stellar presentation, featuring over a dozen different people of wildly different ages, personalities, races, creeds, all talking directly to the viewer about how they've killed, about how they've set morality aside, and ending with,
"For though I've led a double life, at least I can say I've lived."
This ad was widely considered the best advertisement of the entire year by those in the marketing industry. It won countless awards and was even inducted into the Clio Advertising Hall of Fame, which is a thing that you now know exists. And from here, I'm gonna jump away from weird a little bit and more into the next category, sexual, and now I get to show you an actual PS Vita ad. To try and really sell the fact that the Vita had a touchscreen on the front and a touchpad on the back, Sony made this. Yep, this happened. Many groups were kind of upset by this because comparing a console to an entire gender, maybe not the best move there, but hey, we'll look at other not the best moves really soon, don't you worry. That's not even the last sexual ad they made for the Vita, because there's another one that really likes to hammer in the innuendo.
I know you've already done it today. How many times did you do it yesterday? Are you afraid you're doing it too often? You no longer have to feel ashamed. Everybody's doing it.
Okay, that part's not even true. Have you seen the Vita sales numbers? Jumping back one generation to the PSP, it got its own innuendo ads too, as we can see here.
Can I play with it?
And while we're looking at Sony's first handheld besides the Pocket Station, because we don't count the Pocket Station, you know we don't count the Pocket Station, here's a chicken ad. I'm not sure what got into whatever marketing firms that Sony was using for the PlayStation at the time, but the PSP had a whole range of questionably racist ads. For example, this one used to market the brand new white PSP model by having a white woman grab a black woman by the face. Yep, that happened. This was part of a marketing campaign in the Netherlands where it didn't quite cause a stir, but as soon as people stateside got wind of it, they pointed it out and down that billboard came. Sony even defended this one while taking it down, saying that people outside of the region were the ones that got offended and not those in the Netherlands itself, which, just take it down and just shut up, okay? You're just gonna make it worse. But somehow the PSP ads that were aired here in the US never really got much of a second look at the time, which I always found kind of weird considering that almost every PSP ad from 2006 to 2007 featured some sort of stereotype. The stereotypical Italian-American rats, the Latino dustball characters, the black squirrel voices, this whole hand-drawn marketing campaign was pushing just a little bit too close to comfort for portable console ads aimed at children. They weren't overtly offensive in any way, it's just that looking back, they kind of get uncomfortable. And the PSP somehow still didn't stop here, although Sony did move past racial stereotypes and decided to just start offending everybody. There was the time they ran an ad poking fun at blind people, they hired graffiti artists to tag up buildings with PSP ads without telling the cities they were going to be doing that, which means they literally just paid people to vandalize buildings. There's that time they tried to run an ad in London subway systems where they sort of dared people to jump in front of a moving train. Jesus Christ. Also, speaking of Jesus Christ, there were the several times Sony's compared its consoles to Jesus Christ, or the time they sacrificed a f***ing goat for a God of War promotional event. I can't. Now, they didn't kill the goat live right there, at least. I can't believe that's a sentence I actually have to say. But whatever, they did pay a butcher to kill a goat, take its corpse, and use it for an event before returning said goat to the butcher afterwards. Sony's never been afraid to push the boundaries, but good God, sometimes it's just past the point of absurd.
I'm playing nut, but there's portable nut.
Nope. Not touching that one. Nope. And this brings us to the what the f*** category, a string of commercials that can usually take those words right out of your mouth. For example, the PS2's Bambi commercial, often incorrectly credited to David Lynch of all people. What does this ad have to do with the PS2? I don't know. Other than that, I guess it follows the eternal gaming rule that your car will always be wrecked by the one object you think is safe to hit. It's trees. It's always trees. Never hit trees. Lynch did actually direct one PlayStation commercial, but with how absurd so many of the PlayStation ads are, you wouldn't be out of line for thinking he's worked with Sony a lot. For example, I thought for years that he was behind the PS3's Baby commercial. This string of ads with the PS3 in a blank room might be the most infamous gaming commercials of all time. Why did they choose to have a baby doll as their big selling point on their $600 console? I guess because it got people talking and hasn't been forgotten over a decade later, so mission accomplished. Either that or Sony was begging Kojima to join them for much longer than we knew.
PlayStation 9's new electronic spores tap straight into your adrenal gland.
Look, all I'm saying is that if the PS9 doesn't deliver on these promises, I will be a very disappointed retiree. Perhaps even more off-putting than the weird Nightmare Baby is the 2011 to 2012 era of PlayStation advertising, the brand deal era. No franchise was safe when it came to Sony's brand deals with other companies, from the free Uncharted 3 sponsored by Sprint PS3 theme to the obvious PlayStation All-Stars Island sponsored by Coke Zero! To the actual Subway restaurant placed in-game in Infamous 2 and the legendary Subway Uncharted 3 Taste for Adventure sweepstakes.
Get your coat on 30-ounce drinks today. Subway, where winners eat. Ow.
I just want to try the multiplayer early. What? What do you mean it's down? Oh, no. That's right, not even Uncharted, Sony's golden child was safe. From the $5 footlong taunt to the Subway outfits and treasures, it's all just amazing in the worst way. Like, this happened and we were all just fine with it. And of course, where better than the brand deal part of this video to talk about a brand deal. Hi Squarespace, hope you're doing well. Yeah, so this video is brought to you in part by Squarespace, which makes for a weird meta ad when this sponsored video about commercials ends up featured on my website that's actually powered by the sponsor. My brain hurts. But your brain doesn't have to hurt when designing a website. There we go, I saved it. We're doing this live because Squarespace is a perfect all-in-one platform to make the work easy for you. I've talked before about how simple it was to put together my own website with Squarespace, taking an annoying task that I kept putting off for a couple years and within about 30 minutes churning out a site that was presentable, easy to modify, and that features a live tracker of the state of Ohio. Why? You know what they've done. With a ton of helpful features such as custom email campaigns, analytics tracking, custom member-only areas, it's a no-brainer. If you are looking to start that business you've always wanted to, pursue a hobby online, create stupid videos like me, whatever it might be, you'll want a good website to get off on the right foot. And if you visit squarespace.com/goldenbolt, you'll get an extra 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thanks once again to Squarespace for their support over these last few months, and without further ado, let's get back to the ads that you came here for. You really clicked a video about ads, huh? You're weird. After stuff like the Baby commercial, along with all of the E3 memes and an underwhelming launch window, turned the PS3 into a bit of a laughingstock, at least for a little while, Sony's new marketing partner came up with the one, the only, Kevin Butler.
Please clap.
This fictional vice president at PlayStation would be the face of the PS3 in America, and his 3-year stint from 2009 to 2011 could genuinely be credited with Sony's comeback last generation. In fact, I don't even have to argue that too much, because there was even a Kevin Butler commercial that bragged about how effective Kevin Butler was at selling the PS3. Played by actor Jerry Lambert, Butler brought an in-your-face vibe that was sorely needed and came at just the perfect time, with the It Only Does Everything campaign launching alongside the first slim PS3 and the system's price drop. In short, Kevin Butler exuded big dick energy.
You're now a man. Shaft.
When a Butler ad aired on TV, you paid attention because you knew you were in for at least a chuckle. Lambert brought his peak charismatic performance every single time, to the point that this guy could sell just about anything. I mean, come on, the guy even made the PlayStation Move look appealing. Butler's ads were incredibly self-aware in an era before self-aware advertising really took off. Likewise, Butler's long, circuitous, often absurd monologues boomed through TV speakers and captivated players a full year before the Old Spice ads brought that same level of absurd charm to the masses. Kevin Butler, in my opinion, brought the best kind of Super Bowl level commercial to represent PlayStation year-round. And the campaign's energy was so strong that the PSP had to have its own string of similar commercials to replace those weird, kinda racist ones, featuring a character known best as Marcus PSP. Kevin Butler was so connected with the PlayStation's audience that he even made an appearance at Sony's E3 2010 conference to applause from the crowd. Yet again, Butler sold the PlayStation Move in a way that nobody else could, besides Nintendo. Keep in mind, E3 wasn't open to the public that year, so this was an auditorium full of gaming journalists cheering for blatant marketing. Which, to be fair, I'd probably cheer too if it meant I didn't have to watch more PlayStation Move golf. Butler's E3 speech wasn't just about the PS Move though, it built to an amazing conclusion about how all gaming is awesome. Motion gaming, seated gaming, real gaming, casual gaming, they were all valuable. And that quote-unquote real gamers shouldn't gatekeep or look down upon motion gamers because they're still gamers too. The speech was A+, easily the highlight of that year's mostly mediocre E3 showing. Keep in mind, this was the year that Gabe Newell showed up at Sony's conference and announced that Portal 2 would be coming to the PS3, and the commercial guy stole the show.
And though we may pledge fanboy allegiances to different flags, deep down inside we all serve one master, one king, and his name is gaming. Forever may he reign!
Now, did Kevin Butler actually lead to the PS3's later success? No, probably not. If you look at the sales in the US, the 360 still trounced the PS3 because the momentum had already shifted, but there's definitely an argument to be made that the improved marketing campaign led to a longer burn on the PS3's peak years here in the States, with less significant drops than the 360 would have near the end of the console generation. Of course, the PS3 did surpass the 360 worldwide when all was said and done, but Butler's ads were only shown here in the States, so that's not super relevant. Anyway, what I'm trying to say here is Commercial Man did good, even if he didn't carry the PS3 to a comeback in the US. Kevin Butler's legacy lives on long past the PS3, and really, if I didn't mention it, nobody would have cared to think about the actual numbers anyway, we all just would have said that he helped the PS3 make its big comeback. So either way you look at it, he was an effective vice president, and one that many of us would have liked to see stick around a little bit longer. Before I go, I'm gonna loop back around to that awesome category one final time, because while it's incredibly hard to find nowadays, a Kevin Butler version of, in my opinion, the single greatest video game commercial ever was made to celebrate PlayStation's Hall of Play initiative. That trailer? Michael. This ad throws together just all of Sony's big hitters, along with several third-party characters, and puts them all into one bar. We hear Nathan Drake, Kratos, and Solid Snake, among others, talking about their experiences and how one man helped them. Who was it that could bring all of these icons together? Who was the one that helped each of them? A guy named Michael, just a regular gamer. This commercial is the PlayStation characters thanking the player for making them who they are. At the end of the day, all of these experiences, all of the moments and the set pieces and the stories and the trophies, they don't exist without a Michael to play them, to earn them, to experience them, to be them. And when the entire bar full of PlayStation characters starts chanting Michael's name and the camera pans up to see all of the other players on this Hall of Fame, players of every walk of life, it gets me every time. Sure, it plugs the PS3 at the end, but this commercial wasn't here to sell anything directly. It was here for the people that have been there for all of these moments, maybe from day 1 of the PlayStation, or maybe from day 1000. For a short while, you could even get your own version of this trailer made, just like Kevin Butler's. Your picture would replace Michael's, and assuming you had a common enough name that they recorded it when they filmed this, they'd chant for you instead of Michael. This ad is just magnificent, evoking that PS1 Double Life ad in all of the best ways. And that we later found out that it was just the first teaser in a series of ads designed to promote PlayStation All-Stars, the game that brought all of these amazing moments and PlayStation characters and Dante together, even better. Now obviously there are countless PlayStation commercials that I skipped over for this video, so let me know what your favorite PlayStation ads are in the comments. As always, thank you very much for watching, sharing, subscribing, and supporting. And until next time, eat fresh. This video was made possible in part thanks to the Golden Cult over on Patreon. It's not a cult, I promise, who receive early and ad-free versions of videos just like this, access to the Golden Bolt Discord server, and a bunch of other cool perks for as little as $1 a month over at patreon.com/thegoldenbolt. A special thanks to folks like Goldstorm07, Cloudy Boy, Jump Rock, Karigane564, Malcavio, Mason Hunt, Philly D360, Phyrexian Sleeper Agent, Rodney220, the FOE3, The Critic of Innocence, Vincent, Arlen B, Captain Squid, Chef Kilo, Damian W, Eclipse 2025, Elliot Krantz, Epo90, Even Luck, Faisal B, Firestorm 422, Harry, Heidi Hotze, I Pay My Cam Girl So Why Not You, Ibathon, James Boss, Justin Gregoire, the one and only famous Twitch streamer JTart9, he's so f***ing famous, Lockwe, La Paradox HD, Lupine Pariah, Maxi89C, The Milkman, Patrick Jackson, Shadow Nexus, Smoothies, Stefan, Terminally Nerdy, Wayne is Boss, WDog999, William Bundy, and Buckles Chucklow. Thank you.